TechChalk, a technology podcast.
All right, well, welcome to TechChalk, a technology and education podcast. I'm Chris, I'm tech, and today I have an awesome guest, another fellow coworker tech. Uh, Nick, if you want to
Yes,
introduce yourself.
absolutely. I am Nick. I am also a tech at the same place.
Now, the two differences just between us and what we do is I mostly deal with the administrators of the district, and you are within multiple different elementary school buildings. So
Yes,
you deal with a lot of the tech devices for uh, the
little people.
children and little people. That's always good. But now that introductions are done, I guess we will start into what the first topic of our podcast will be, and that is Microsoft Teams. Since we are quarantined and school has been officially shut down, we have been mostly using Microsoft Teams as the main collaboration tool for all teachers, administrators, and even to students. Um, it can be a little bit confusing since it is a new program that we implemented just a few months before the shutdown happened. So there wasn't a lot of playtime for teachers to get used to the program. And because Teams is so, as you said, I can't remember the exact word you said, not diversely integrated into so many different things like Infinite Campus and
It's
features
it's
like that.
just everything is spidered right out of Teams. I mean, we could branch out both ways, upwards and downwards between, going upwards to Azure and all the cloud services they have into education, and then going
Mhm.
downwards into OneDrive and OneNote and Word and Excel and Power and all the other little things Microsoft offers.
Yes, absolutely. So we just wanted to go through and I guess talk about Teams, sort of explain exactly how it works, the features that it has to offer, and just try and make a scary looking program a little less scary.
Yes.
So I guess we will start off with specifically just the program in and of itself. So Microsoft has made a collaboration program called Teams. It integrates many different features across Microsoft, including Outlook. You can get your calendars, a chat and instant messaging feature to your contacts, and specifically also named Teams, which are just groups which that you can be a part of inside of Teams. So that was just the first like clarification we wanted to mention.
Yes.
That yes, the program is called Teams, and the groups that you're a part of are also called Teams.
So, flat out, there are teams in Teams.
Yes. Teams also does a great job of integrating other of its products, including OneNote, Word, Excel, even OneDrive itself. It integrates into other third-party applications and services like Infinite Campus, like we have. Of are also to allow our students to go through, submit grades, and check their grades, submit grades, check their grades, and I'm not even sure what else because I haven't been on the student side. If you want to explain more of what happens on that end.
Well, no, it's from what I've been told, from what the teachers have experienced. It's a good platform to make grading a little easier. Automatic assignment submissions, sending projects up over Teams, integrating their projects from OneDrive and just sharing it upwards, and it just makes when everything works correctly,
Yes,
it makes life a lot easier for everybody involved.
absolutely.
And we'll we'll,
Uh,
we'll get to the not working correctly part.
yeah, we'll get there. There's always that in tech. It even has its own voice over internet protocol, so you can make video calls and regular just audio calls to your contacts as well, besides just instantly messaging them. Just before we were live streaming here, we were going to be using Teams as our main video chat, but unfortunately, it's still in development, early development,
Yeah.
and we are currently working with Microsoft as well. Our department in the districts are working with it to try and enhance things, keep them going along, get some more features and stuff in there. Um, but at the moment, you couldn't see both of us like on screen.
For each end, it would have been one or the other.
Yes,
So,
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Uh,
honestly, pick who do you want to stare at more? I think it's this guy.
no, it's, um,
I
oh,
apologize, Chris.
the
That's a bit of a
attention. I hate
curveball.
attention. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. But yes. Were there any other types of features or other just main general uh, topics like normally you would see on the left-hand sidebar of Teams that you like to add specifically that you would integrate or normal users would see through?
I mean, from what we see, that covers most of what we interact with on a regular basis. I mean, there's teams in teams. You've got, you
Mm-hmm.
know, all sorts of the groups. You've got the channels that everybody's using. You've got all the Microsoft integration. It for now it does plenty, and you know, probably in the future it's going to do more. So maybe an update
Hopefully.
will come.
Yeah, definitely. That would be really cool to see. So I guess we'll dive down into the teams now. To be specifically, we'll dive into the groups and just explain sort of how things are laid out because I know for teachers and other administrators it was kind of confusing uh, just to be thrown in there and it having so many different options that you can choose from and do and the way that Teams is laid out and how it works can get a little confusing, especially when sharing files or uh, other using some of the other features within it.
Yeah.
Um, so mostly within Teams, uh, your group teams, you'll have a left-hand sidebar of channels. Now those specific channels can be named anything generally, and they sort of act like, I guess I would say, main big folders within Teams
Oh, you could say
as
that.
a more simplistic way of understanding. Um,
It's kind of like a uh, the main teams is a big box, right? You've got
yes,
the one of those channels is like an accordion folder because you've got
yes,
all that stuff inside that channel.
yep.
So,
And then within each of those channels are its own. I guess you would say I don't even know what you would
well, because it's
directly like to call them
like I was
because it could
saying, it's
be
like an
anything
accordion
really.
folder. You have different sections for each folder. So you've got, you know, your general chat rooms back and forth
Yeah,
inside that channel, right? And then we've already used this. We've got the files that are connected through SharePoint that can be uploaded and shared through that channel.
you glitched up a little bit there, but I think you said through SharePoint.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Yes, yeah, there is the great integration. You can also run applications and other Microsoft products right from within that Teams channel. So you can specifically share a section in OneNote, or you can share a specific Word document file um, right within it, and everyone can collaborate and work on it, and it'll save through the cloud. Uh, and I think that's where most people got lost is right there because each channel or each of that accordion folder has its own set of features. It has its own
Yeah.
chat channel, its own folders channel, its own applications and sharings. So if you share something specifically to a Teams channel, it is only accessible within that channel. If you go to another channel and another channel's folder option, let's say you upload a Word document to share with your users um, in the general tab. Uh, it stays within that general tab. And if someone goes online through like Microsoft Office 365 or through Teams Online and they try and access the OneDrive files and folders, it will be sort of like, as you said, that accordion folder. It's going to be within the general tabs within that folder. It won't just
Exactly.
show up as one big Teams folder. It's not a big collection. It organizes each channel and I guess application and what you share that way. So it's sort of like a reverse tree, I would say, coming from the left-hand sidebar, going to the right.
The roots instead of the branches.
Yes, the roots of the branches. Um,
Oh, and let's not forget that even inside of opening the content that you have shared in the files, um, not only can you open them inside of Teams, Teams gives you the option to open them in either SharePoint or Office 365,
yes.
or they let you open them up as long as you have them installed with the native desktop applications. You know, Word,
Hmm.
PowerPoint, Excel, that sort of thing.
And that makes it a lot easier to use, or to bring you back to what most users are comfortable with and what they see most often. Um, it allows for that seamless transition. In and of itself, just could seem a little scary at first. Um, I don't know if there's anything you specifically wanted to take off with or talk about more.
Um, because the problem is I don't want to go right into things that people don't like because I do find that in general, we as coworkers in a department, we do
Yes.
appreciate Teams because we have been using it for so long. Um,
Yes.
the difference is our capacity in using it. So only recently have we started using it the same way as the students and the educators. Um,
Yes. Very true.
for us, primarily, initially, it was a collaboration tool.
Hmm.
So instead of having a separate call over Skype for Business or the old school link and a document open in Office 365 and Teams just kind of brings that all together in one neat little package, I guess
Yeah.
you could
I'd
call
say
it.
so. Yeah.
um,
Which is
it
good.
just I find that it makes working collaboratively more convenient, and especially now with distance learning, stuff like this is possible. We could be on a video call and have content open shared with the rest of the group.
Yes. Absolutely. All within one program. Like
Exactly.
it is great, especially for teachers as well. They can chat on screen with their students. Hopefully, with more videos at once. Uh, as we
Coming
know,
soon.
Microsoft's coming soon. But along with that, all the students or the teacher would have to do is literally just click back into their teams, and then the students can lively work on uh, documents or shared information, or they can chat and interact uh, while still having like the image of the teacher up, and it's all in one specific program. They don't have to go anywhere else. It's not convoluted. It's just all a neat little box, a bunch of
Yes,
accordion folders. Yeah,
it's
but
a good analogy because it's trying the big problem with Teams. Well, okay, I don't want to say problem. The issue for some users with Teams is
mm,
conceptualizing how to use it and understanding what all those little bits are. I mean, that's one of the reasons we started talking about this.
yeah,
So that's why I like analogies. It's the Teams of the program, Teams the application is that nice big box we have access to. And every team within Teams is an
yes,
accordion folder, right? You just
yep,
slot what you need into the different sections.
yep. That's like the best way to explain it.
Hmm.
But then I think have there's been any issues on the user sides that you've mostly known or then heard about? If we can go into that since we've mostly explained the general overarching concept of teams.
Well, you've got that wonderful apparatus called OneDrive. Um,
Yes.
it really is a back and forth because
Hmm.
depending on how it's explained to people, they can get a little confused as to what goes where. Um,
Yes, very true.
so as we both know, people have access to OneDrive. On the left-hand side of the user interface, they have access to their OneDrive through Teams.
Yeah.
And the problem is, there's always the chance for synchronization issues, especially right now when stuff is being used heavily.
Oh, absolutely.
um,
Absolutely. And it works one way as well. Teams, unfortunately, are that we've seen. So if you upload or share a specific file into Teams, it will link to OneDrive or Office 365 if you visit it online. But if you upload something from online or onto the OneDrive personally.
Mm.
It unfortunately, for some reason, does not sync back. So it's sort of like a one-way tunnel in that sense. It's mostly used for distributing content. It's not meant for, uh, I guess, cross connection syncing, I would say.
Well, I think for us that's mostly because of SharePoint, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah, that's what they utilize more.
and that's SharePoint is something we can go into at another point in time, but for this particular explanation, and you'll remember this too, because we were
Mm,
told we can put content in SharePoint and it'll show up in
yes,
Teams, right? But we can't
correct.
put something in Teams and expect it to show up in SharePoint.
Yes, yeah, it was
They
like the
they don't
reverse.
talk.
Yep. Yeah, it's a one way train.
And it's funny because they're all part of the same service.
Yeah, it was very out of all the things that they generally integrated, the syncing, a direct sync wasn't one of them, which definitely seemed weird, and that does and can confuse some users because they may have been like, oh, I uploaded this file into Teams and then I opened it up separately from my OneDrive and edited in Word, but it's not edited on Teams, and everyone else is getting the old version of it. It's because it's not like a cloud sync. It's just a direct
Yeah.
distribution share, you know, point to share things.
It's odd because so many of our users now are so used to working in OneDrive. OneDrive is something we had, and again, another subject for another time.
Yes, yeah,
OneDrive is something we've had for a while, and that has changed and grown. So they kind of expect a product from the same company to work in the same way, much like you
yeah,
would, you buy an Apple iPhone 4 from years ago, and you expect the experience to be mostly the same if you get a 6, a 7, a 10, or an X, or whatever you call it.
yeah.
Um, you expect the experience to be the same.
Very true. And hopefully, maybe eventually in some future updates, they will uh, allow that integration. But as far as it seems, it most likely just seems as a direct share,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But as long as users have that knowledge going into it, or users listening to this now, know that it will make using Teams a little bit easier in that sense. Specifically, if they want to share a specific document and don't want it edited or don't need it edited, and if they do, then to share it a different way, like through the other resources that they have through OneDrive or um, SharePoint.
And
But
it's
you go ahead.
well, no, so it's a good point for resources too. And like we said,
Yes,
as long as it works,
very
right?
true.
So recently, and I don't remember the exact time frame we had this issue, um, but a lot of our users were experiencing synchronization errors and issues with their meetings in general that weren't related to permissions and security and that sort
Oh
of thing.
yes,
Um, Again, much like other educational applications that are running right now, even when we're all bombarding them with the same kind of work all at the same time,
yeah.
they start to feel the strain. Even somebody as big as Microsoft.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely does.
Now, since you work with the admin end of things, I mean,
Yes.
do they have the same concerns as the teachers? Is it
Generally, too, there is a cross where they do sort of share the same struggles. It is mostly within that same share aspect. They'll share files on Teams, edit it, and then it doesn't sync back or forth. Mostly the understanding that each file's tab within a channel is separate and in its own section than in the general Teams. Uh, Sort of like a SharePoint because you can share files to the general Teams folder and then have your channeled folders. So uh, mostly it was a lot of that. Others that I've seen as well is with setting up meetings and integration within OneNote because Teams also pulls all of your meetings and the availability to make calls and contacts from OneNote. it was a little difficult if one wasn't connecting or syncing with the other,
Mm.
and sometimes that would just be, general glitches per device or the computers, or sometimes it would be that it just wasn't pulling people's information. Um, but it got confusing when we were instructing teachers and administrators to start calls through Teams, but you could also set it up through Teams through Outlook. Um, so people would be making meetings, but then it wouldn't be available for on Teams. It would show up as in, oh, hey, we have a meeting, but because it wasn't set up as a Teams meeting, there wasn't any a link or direct link to join, so that you couldn't video or audio chat through it. And there was just the sort of half disconnection between that. It does definitely has gotten a little bit better,
Yeah.
um, and they have their own, I guess, plugin for Outlook now, so you can specifically set up a Teams and it will bring you in through Teams.
Well, and it gives
Um,
you the Outlook now gives you the same notification you get for calendar
yes,
reminders, and it gives
yes,
you the nice little box that says "Join meeting."
yep. Yeah, it
Finally.
allows you to sync through. Yeah, that was always good. If you forgot to have Teams open up, you'd completely miss. Um, but other than that, just setting up a Teams meeting, sort of like any other video meeting, because you had to have a specific set time to start, and then that's when users could jump in with video, um, or specifically audio to join the meeting. And we have been doing that a lot more now because of the distance learning. Um, so that was just sort of like a little uh, half step that teachers and administrators had to learn, but it was all very quickly. Microsoft like had that under control before distance learning was implemented, and now there's meetings going on all the time, and teachers are having great fun with changing their backgrounds now that that's implemented.
Oh, we've been getting lots of questions about that, even from our colleagues and cohorts at the elementary level, because we have STEM or STEAM, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Um, we have STEM level teachers at the elementary level, and they're like in building tech coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So, at least for the technicians like myself who work at the elementary level, they're kind of like brothers in arms in terms of technology, because
Yeah.
when we're not in those buildings, since we have multiple, they get a lot of what we get when we're not there. So they'll get questions about teams, and
Yeah.
we'll have to collaborate with them. And it's general understanding. We all have to learn about it in order to help everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And as Teams and Microsoft like updates and throw these new features and implementations into Teams, we got to learn it just as fast as everyone else, so we
Exactly.
can answer your questions. Um, but yeah, that's what we're here for. That's why we're in the positions we're in. We're always right there and ready to figure things out before it gets too big. But even changing in backgrounds and Teams, if you want to figure out that, you can check out the short video that I made on my Twitter account as well.
Yes. Nice, very short video. Uh,
Yeah, wasn't
it's
too bad.
they can do their own custom backgrounds, right?
Yes, you can upload your own custom backgrounds.
All right.
Yep, that's what the video showcases. Shows you how to drag and drop your own downloaded pictures into the uploads folder in Teams, so that you can choose it from one of the drop down lists for changing your backgrounds.
So at least you can make your conference call something a little more fun.
Yes, yeah, a lot more fun than just a plain beach or another house. A lot of teachers have been using the custom backgrounds to have their classroom behind them. So they would have originally, from the start of the school year, they had taken pictures of their classrooms, all neat and shiny and ready to go, and they've saved those pictures and have now you uploaded those pictures into the folder to use as their own background. So it's like they're teaching from the classroom again, and the kids get a
Eh,
kick out of it, and it makes them feel a little more, I guess, uh, you know, things don't feel so bad. It's just like, oh, they see a familiar thing.
yeah.
Um, it puts them at ease a little bit more. But unless there was anything else, I think that about wraps
I
up our team's discussion.
Yeah, those it's a good set of basics. And we're quite frankly we're both on Twitter. And
Yes.
ping us. We'll post stuff. You get to see what we do. People still come and ask us questions. It's open market.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining this podcast. Hope to see you again next time, and hopefully the viewers tune in for
All
whatever we
right.
discuss next.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. It's good stuff.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you for listening.